Tonight, long weekend warnings.
When there's a reason to celebrate and for people to, get together and spend time together, that has been associated with a surge.
As we approach the last holiday of the summer, experts share ways to enjoy it safely. Plus,
I want to be able to go to the gym, movies, I want to enjoy my life.
with the announcement of vaccine passports came a spike in vaccination appointments. But will it be enough? We'll look at what needs to happen to avoid another lockdown. And
I hope everyone reads the email in the building, and I hope that everyone's informed.
residents of a Toronto condo are told they'll need proof of vaccination to use the building's amenities. We ask people who live there how they feel about that. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. The number of people being vaccinated in Ontario is going up, just one day after the province formally announced its vaccine passport. But more shots in arms is just one of the recommendations experts say could help Ontario avoid a worst-case scenario in this fourth wave. Lorenda Redikoff has more.
People coming in to get their shot today have a range of reasons.
Because Doug Ford is implanting the vaccination passport, and I want to be able to go to the gym, movies, I want to enjoy my life.
If it came to a birthday party and our children weren't able to attend because somebody found out I wasn't vaccinated, that's not the stigma that I would want to put on my children.
Some doctors say vaccine clinics today were packed.
So some people have obviously mentioned the vaccine certificate announcement from yesterday. Other people were telling me about mandatory policies from their workplace. We obviously have some kids that are getting ready to go back to school, and they're coming in for their either first or second doses.
The Science Advisory Table says vaccinations need to be way higher now with the Delta variant. At least 85% of eligible people, not the 76% we're at now. And their projections are shocking. Possibly 9,000 new cases a day by early October in the worst case scenario, less than 500 in a best case. That dotted line is the current trajectory, around 3,000 cases a day. And ICU admissions, in the worst case, could hit 900 by mid-October. Though Ontario has never hit a worse scenario.
I really think that we will not have to pivot back to lockdowns.
The Science Table's scientific director says people need to reduce their contacts, see fewer people indoors, and perhaps go back to working from home. Plus, not get too relaxed about the incoming vaccine certificate.
If people continue to do the right thing and don't think, oh, I'm now, I'm having indoor dining and everybody else in here is also fully vaccinated. We just let everything just slip and we become complacent. We wouldn't be in a good space.
Dr. Isaac Bogosh likes seeing that big range of possibilities laid out by the Science Table.
We can essentially choose our own adventure, for lack of a better word, and choose our trajectory.
He says upping vaccinations is important, but that high-risk workplaces and neighborhoods also need supports. Without those, he says, we'll see the same spike from earlier waves. And the worst-case scenario isn't out of the question.
And if we throw caution to the wind and pretend COVID doesn't exist, we'll get there. It's not impossible, but it would be a tremendous failure.
Dr. Uni says two things coming up could have an impact on cases and also hospitalizations. That's first the long weekend and then back to school. He says the impact would be seen in a few weeks. That's right around the same time that the vaccine passport comes into effect. Lorenda Redikoff, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, as Lorenda mentioned, the long weekend could bring a rise in cases. So, how will the last long weekend of the summer be enjoyed? Our Jessica Ng learned some of the safer ways to toast the summer away.
Gonna come?
Epidemiologists say if you're getting together with friends or family this holiday weekend, get outdoors.
As much as possible, we should make the most of the end of summer and spend time outdoors because it really does reduce risk. So it's really a win-win situation.
Ashley Chute of the University of Toronto says long weekends generally equate to a spike in COVID-19 cases for the weeks to follow, but that will be more of an issue come fall.
We are going to experience a pretty substantial fourth wave. And how substantial it is really going to depend on what happens over the next month or two.
Especially as people return to school, work, and more indoor settings.
If we enter into that period with lots of cases, it becomes a lot harder to keep COVID out of the schools.
In and around the city, there are plenty of options that can help you take advantage of being outside.
You can go from hiking to all the way to rock climbing, a ropes course, a challenge course, to renting a canoe or a kayak or a paddle boat, to archery, to farm animals.
Hassan Bassett says Rattlesnake Point, Hilton Falls, and other Halton parks have seen 40% more visitors during the pandemic, coming from all corners of the GTA. Luckily, last spring, Conservation Halton implemented a reservation system to help manage it all.
Yes, there's an extra step where now you have to reserve before you go walk in nature, and that might sound like a very counterintuitive thing to do, but what it does give you is certainty.
Reducing crowds and wait times. You can also opt to take a GO train or bus to get to these outdoor attractions. Starting Saturday, Metrolinx is increasing service and starting new routes. However you choose to spend the last long weekend of summer, the message from experts is clear.
We really make it easier on everyone if we can, get through the next couple days as safely as possible.
Keep a generous distance between yourself and others, wear a mask, and get outside. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Nick Circumvich joins us now with a look at the forecast. Nick, today truly felt like the first day of jacket weather.
Well, a little cooler out there today, Talia. Actually, temperatures below the seasonal mark. We hit 21 degrees in the GTA. Here's a look at daytime highs across the city. In fact, Oshawa only checking in at 19. Now, to put that in perspective, the average for this time of year is about 23.5 degrees. The average low is 12. Today, we hit just about 21 degrees, so below seasonal on the daytime highs, but pretty much on seasonal for the overnight lows. Nothing to speak of in terms of precipitation. In fact, we had lots of sunshine today. Clear skies tonight. Some fog patches developing, though, in and around the GTA. As we head through tomorrow, though, generally burning that off. We're looking at mainly sunny skies to, at times, a mix of sun and cloud towards southwestern Ontario. And then into Saturday morning. Saturday actually looks like a pretty good start to the long weekend, but we will have some rain to talk about for the long-range forecast. For now, though, here's a look at the next 24. 12 degrees tonight, some fog patches developing. 24 for tomorrow, light winds and no humidity. Your full forecast in just a bit.
Thanks, Nick. Toronto continues to ramp up its efforts to get more people vaccinated. The city has joined forces with the TTC to expand mobile vaccine clinics at subway stations and on buses.
When you see the projections that were put out by the Ontario Science Table yesterday, they are, they make us anxious. We have moved to a different phase of the vaccination campaign where instead of relying on people to come to the big city-run vaccination clinics, in addition to the ones run by the hospitals, we're now going to be focused much more on taking vaccines out to the people.
The clinics are being run by Toronto Public Health and Toronto paramedics, targeting high foot traffic areas like shopping centers, schools, and apartment buildings. That's in neighborhoods with low vaccination rates. More than 100 clinics will be held each week across the city this month. To date, 77% of Torontonians are fully vaccinated. Residents at one Toronto condo learned today they'll need to provide proof of vaccination to use any amenities in the building. Chris Glover looked into whether people supported this policy.
From the outdoor pool to the indoor party room, use any amenity at this condo tower near Yonge and Bloor, and you'll need to have proof of vaccination.
I think it's important and I think it's good. I'm all for it.
I hope everyone reads the email in the building, and I hope that everyone's informed.
The condo corporation and building management wouldn't respond to CBC Toronto, but we spoke with more than a dozen residents and they all supported it.
I am vaccinated, and so the idea of that makes me feel more protected.
This resident from Los Angeles thinks it demonstrates the stark contrast to the misinformation about COVID vaccines in the U.S.
It's really wreaking havoc there, and so the idea that something is more proactive here, I'm not surprised by. People have been really responsible about taking care of each other.
Notified by email at 10:40 this morning, this was the closest we got to disapproval.
It is a little sudden, which is like today. I was surprised by that.
Resident Susan Castillo also wonders how the building will even check.
The how and the process of how that's going to flow through would be interesting to see how it gets carried out, but I can see the intent, which is, safety for everyone.
It looks broad to me, overly broad.
Condominium lawyer Bradley Chaplick says if challenged in court, the policy could be struck down since it came with short notice and captures even outdoor amenities. Or a judge could decide something like this.
COVID is really serious, and the government saw fit to implement mandatory vaccination policies for gyms and movie theaters. And if you want to extend that to your media room and your roof deck, that's not unreasonable.
In a statement today, the province says it does not consider condo buildings public settings. Therefore, they aren't captured in the province's vaccine certificate rules. But the government says condos are free to implement policies as they see fit. And in a building with a track record of high safety protocols throughout the pandemic,
everyone here is here for everyone. So, we're just here to get through it all together.
This resident says it's just one more way to keep each other safe. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
4 of the major federal party leaders took part in the first major debate of the election campaign. This one happening in French ahead of the first English language debate 1 week from today. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau, and Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole were all invited to the debate. Several leaders took shots at Trudeau for calling the election, also discussed were mandatory vaccines and protecting the French language in Quebec. Canada's Elections Commissioner has cleared Liberal candidate for University Rosedale, Chrystia Freeland, over some recent campaign tweets. They targeted Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole and had been labeled as manipulated media by Twitter. Freeland posted the tweets about 2 weeks ago. They contained edited clips of O'Toole answering yes when he was asked if he would bring for-profit healthcare to Canada. The Elections Commissioner ruled no offense had been committed under the Elections Act. With the Kabul airport not currently in operation, border crossings in Afghanistan are even more crucial for Afghans trying to flee the Taliban. Susan Ormiston looks into what's happening in a key border town in neighboring Pakistan.
This convoy of trucks has just left Afghanistan, bringing fresh produce into Pakistan. We've seen things like tomatoes and onions and cotton goods, all coming from the border crossing just about a kilometer down this valley, a very important economic link for both countries. And it is open now, but there's long lineups, sometimes days of lineups of these trucks trying to go back and forth. How does he feel about the Taliban taking a new government?
Everything fine there. The government is good because we used to pay money, but now we came free.
We were down there for a couple of hours today, and we saw just a trickle of Afghans coming into Pakistan. The country has said with 1.5 million refugees here already, they can't handle tens of thousands more, so they're only letting in those for medical emergencies or who have business on either side of the border. The UN is warning of a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, and this kind of commerce going in is a critical link, especially with the airport closed. So these trucks are going into Afghanistan. We saw young boys down at that border hiding in the wheel wells of trucks coming from Afghanistan. Once into Pakistan, they jump off with bags of what looked like produce over their shoulders to go sell in the market. The UN is warning that up to 500,000 Afghans may try to flee their country by the end of this year. They'll be trying to get to land borders like this, but in many places they're blocked from moving on. Susan Ormiston, CBC News at the Torkham border crossing in Pakistan.
Here's our city skyline tonight after a fall-like day. Partly cloudy this evening with the temperature expected to drop to 12 degrees. Nick's back now with our extended forecast.
Well, Talia, we'll start by talking about the rainfall or the expected rainfall for the weekend. Now, here's a look at the broad picture. The remnants of Ida now pushing off into Atlantic Canada. In fact, it's already moved for the most part through the Maritimes. And mind you, it brought a lot of rainfall, some record rainfall in parts of the eastern United States. Some areas seeing 200 millimeters in the span of 1 hour. That was Newark, New Jersey. For us, we've gotten away with just some sunshine in behind this system. Basically into tomorrow morning, we're looking at generally sunny skies. We'll see some fog patches in especially the rural areas, but that should burn off pretty quickly. Through the afternoon, sunshine to a mix of sun and cloud down in southwestern Ontario. Into Saturday, looks pretty good actually, a mix of sun and cloud for the better part of the day, but Saturday night through Sunday morning, the system's going to bring with it some showers, potentially some thunderstorms in there as well, and then lingering scattered showers in behind it for Sunday. So that's what we're looking at. But it looks like at this point, the bulk of the rain for the weekend actually coming sort of Saturday night into Sunday. That seems to be the good news with this if you've got outdoor plans for this weekend. Clear skies tonight, single digits in some areas in southwestern Ontario. As we move through tomorrow, we're back up into the 20s, a mix of sun and cloud. Really no humidity to speak of. Golden Horseshoe, just a hair warmer for the overnight lows, up to about 12 degrees in Toronto, but still looking at some single digits here. Some fog patches developing outside the GTA. And again, we've got highs to about 23, 24 degrees through the afternoon tomorrow. Long range forecast, similar conditions on Saturday, then Saturday night through Sunday. We've got some showers, lingering showers on Sunday, but mostly it looks like a morning event at this point. The risk for a few spotty showers on Monday and Tuesday, 23, cloudy for the first day of school. Talia.
Thanks, Nick. The search for a Toronto man that had been missing since January has come to an end after his remains were discovered last week in a landfill in Southwold, Ontario. 57-year-old Nathaniel Brettel was last known to be in his home near Wastona Street and Dixon Road on January 21st. When officers attended the area in February to search for him, they were allegedly attacked by a man with a butcher knife. That man was arrested and charged with several offenses, including 2 counts of attempted murder. Later that month, police say evidence from the scene led them to believe the death was a homicide. In May, that same man was arrested again and charged with second-degree murder. Police said a development in the investigation led them to believe Brettel's body may be at a landfill. They say they identified him by fingerprint. Toronto police say a woman was critically injured after she was attacked at her workplace this afternoon. It happened shortly before 2 p.m. near King and Sherbourne. According to police, the woman was working when the suspect came in and stabbed her. He fled the scene but was located a short time later and arrested. The victim's employer says she is in stable condition and recovering in hospital. With the start of a new school year just days away, former NBA player and now Raptors consultant Jamal Magloire is making sure some kids have the tools they need to succeed. He helped surprise 50 children from underserved communities today with some pretty amazing school supplies. Our Greg Ross was there.
Getting to meet Toronto native and NBA legend Jamal Magloire was not even the coolest part of the day for the 50 kids selected to be at the MLSE launchpad. No, the coolest part was definitely the gifts.
I got an Apple iPad with headphones and a backpack.
Staying on top of schoolwork should be a little easier with a brand new iPad.
I have a busy schedule going into school, seeing that I'm graduating next year, so it's a really good thing to have.
The backpack filled with school supplies should help too.
Got mask, pencil case, notebook, ruler, binder, hats, and a bunch of these things I do not know what it is.
All 50 of the kids chosen today come from neighborhoods where they have been exposed to gangs and gun violence.
We understand that there are distractions, there are things that go on in these neighborhoods that we can't fix in a day.
But Magloire hopes by giving them the proper tools for learning, they'll be less likely to be lured down the wrong path.
It's very important to me because school's starting next week, and we want to give them an opportunity to succeed right out of the gates.
You work hard if you make the right choices. We truly need to let these young adults know, these youth know that they're valued and that they're cared about.
As a former player and now consultant and coach with the Raptors, Magloire knows the importance of positive motivation, which is why he says the foundation plans to check in with the kids from time to time.
How do you stay in touch with these kids after this initial contact?
You continue, we have their emails and we have their contacts of their parents, and we will be following up and seeing how they're doing throughout the course of the season.
I love you to say season, but it's like the, you're thinking basketball. You're thinking basketball.
I guess we can't blame him for having basketball on his mind. The NBA season is not that far away either. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A vaccine clinic in Montreal is employing a unique weapon to ease the fears of people getting their shots. It's technically called zoo therapy. The clinic manager says the cockapoo named Petite Jones is great at distracting people from jab-related pain and fear. She says the therapy has been positive and transforming for most people who walk through the door. And most people are pretty much guaranteed to make a new friend in the process. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Good night.